My name is James Creech. I'm a graduate student at Liberty University. I'm also the Senior Manager for Sales Enablement at Insight Enterprises. Today we're going to talk about the ROI of instructional design. The first thing that we need to do is define what ROI is. So stands for return on investment, which is the expected value of the funds invested. This definition comes from Jesse Kong with the Why is Difficult to Measure ROI of Training program at Franklin University. It's easy to look at some forms of investments to understand what the return is on those. If we look at an example of standing up a new e-commerce site for a business, the expected return is an increase in traffic, increase in revenue, an increase in gross profits. So that makes it very easy. When it comes to training, we don't always see direct impacts for the training program, for that instructional design that we're investing in order to understand those, we need to look at what our outcomes are and what is our forms of measurement and everything. So when we look at this, outcomes are really, really important for us to understand. If we don't know what we're expecting out of the training itself, whether are we expecting behaviors to change? Are we going to be looking at for example, a social selling training? We could look at it and say that we want the social index of those sellers or marketing folks that are taking this training. We want it to increase their social selling index or something like that. So in order for us to understand and be able to have a form of measurement, we first have to know what the outcomes or those expectations are from the training. So then we need a form of measurement. The form that I use for measurement is the New World Kirkpatrick model. You can find more information about this on Kirkpatrick and Associates website. This comes from Kirkpatrick and Kirkpatrick there. But there's 4 levels to the New World Kirkpatrick model. This model is often used to evaluate instructional design when you're looking at whether or not it's been effective. And so I encourage folks to take a look at the New World Kirkpatrick model in more detail and to explore it a little bit more, because I think it's an excellent tool for understanding the ROI of training. So level 1, we have reaction. Level 2 is learning. Level 3 is behavior. And level 4 is results. The first 2 levels are grouped together, and then the second 2 levels are grouped together because they're more similar to one another. There's a bigger difference between level 2 and level 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore each one of these a little bit different, and how the ROI model for each one of these relates to instructional design. So first, reaction. So what is how do you measure the initial reaction of the training and to see what the return is there? So we can use things like surveys. So we can immediately after the training to see if that training is meeting what those expectations were of the learners, to understand the relevance of it to their jobs, and to see how satisfied they are with that particular training. The source for this is Reiser and Dempsey. Learning. Learning is probably one of the biggest things that we need to measure when it comes to the ROI for instructional design. So we can utilize things like achievement tests, so knowledge, so a knowledge check immediately after taking the training to see if we've gained any additional knowledge. But then how does that knowledge translate to real world skills and performance? So we can use performance tests. Usually these are done later down the road just to see if they're applying the knowledge that they have gained from the learning that from the instructional design, to make sure that they are getting the performance that is expected out of that. So we can see that in skills, and we can see confidence in their ability to perform their jobs better. And then the last piece that I use today in my trainings at several different points along the way. For instance, we have a new hire program, which we call Foundations, and we do a round table at the 8 to 10 week mark Then we do another one at the 6-month mark, and then another one at the 1-year mark. We want to go back and judge how effective our training was and see what that reaction is the first few weeks in. But then when they're 6 months in, have we, do they still feel that they were gaining, that the investment in that training was worthwhile for that? So, and then the third part is behaviors. So behaviors are things and attitudes that we want to change. We want to reinforce and encourage new types of behaviors. Again, we used the social selling example earlier, but maybe you wanted a training around prospecting for new customers if you're a sales organization. So you may want to reinforce how the new behavior on how they're going to go get prospects and so forth within the training. So ways that you can find out if the training has actually made an impact is by pre-training and post-training surveys. So by taking training surveys about the skills and deficiencies from both a learner's perspective and a manager's and supervisor's perspective before the training, and then post-training to see if they've gained that knowledge and if those behaviors have changed from both the learners and the manager and supervisor's perspective. The source for this is, again, Reiser and Dempsey. The last, fourth level is results. So we look at two different things when it comes to results. We look at leading indicators and desired outcomes. So leading indicators can be, if we go back to the previous slide, look at the increase in desired behaviors. Are we seeing smoother workflows? Are we seeing better employee satisfaction with the training? Are more people wanting to sign up for additional trainings? That's another way to see these kind of leading indicators. And desired outcomes, are you seeing OpEx savings? Are you seeing an increase in revenue and gross profit? These are really important to every business that's out there because every business runs around revenues and profits. But everybody's always looking for savings that they can make in operational expenses. Sometimes these can be a little bit difficult to relate directly to the training. There's not really a correlation or a direct link to it, so you have to have some agreements with management on what those are. So just to kind of wrap up here, this is the model that I use for evaluating instructional design to see what the return on investment is for any of the trainings that my team is leading. I encourage you to look at this model or other models to see which one would be the best fit. But I think the most important thing is to have some agreements at the beginning as to what the desired outcomes are the trainings, because that's really what the return on investment is going to be. And here's a complete list of the sources that were used in this today. Thank you and have a great day.